What is up YouTube, it's Vinny here from Road Blast Media, and today we're going to be doing a review on my 2020 KTM RC390. Now this is an absolutely gorgeous bike and a super fun one too, and it's going to be really cool to do this review and talk about some of the specs and features of this thing and some things that I like and dislike about this bike, also what it's like to live with, as I've owned this for over a year now. So to start off, this bike makes 44 horsepower at 9,000 RPM and 35 Newton meters of torque at 7,000 RPM. With a dry weight of only 139 kilos, it makes this thing an absolute pocket rocket. It is super light, you can throw it around corners. It is just an absolutely great bike to ride, and for the price point, you really can't get any better, especially in the beginner bike market. So, to start off, just with some things that I really like about this bike. I mean, just look at it, it's absolutely awesome. I don't think you'd be able to find a beginner bike that looks as cool as this thing, especially like the under 600cc sort of range of bikes. I really think you'd struggle to find a bike that looks nicer in the sports bike market. And so yeah, there's a few things about this bike that I really like. You know, it comes standard with upside down WP forks. It's got an awesome, nice big disc there with ABS by Bybrake. Really good stopping power. Makes for great braking system. It's really good. And you've also got an adjustable rear shock here, which is great for like adjusting it to whatever size you are and things like that. It can make the bike really, you know, interchangeable between different heights and sizes and weights and things like that, which is really awesome. There was a thing that I didn't like about this bike when I first bought it, was the seat. The seat was absolutely terrible, it was uncomfortable. I probably would get about 35-40 minutes on it before like you start getting a sore ass, not good. So I took the seat down to an upholsterer and got them to add some extra foam in there for about $60, and yeah, it made a massive difference. It seriously, like, it added you know, an extra 2 hours to the ride time, and it was money well spent in my opinion. If KTM does offer an alternative, but it's around 350 New Zealand dollars, and to be honest, like, $60 did the same trick, so I'd recommend just going with that. But if you got the money, go ahead and spend it, because the KTM seat looks awesome, but you know, I wasn't prepared to spend that much on a seat, so yeah. Another thing from factory I wasn't like the biggest fan of was just the exhaust. It sounded a bit dull, you know, it didn't make a great sound, so I added an Akropovich slip-on there, which it just looks really nice, and it improves the sound drastically. It's not majorly louder, but it changes the sound of the bike and it makes it sound wicked. So yeah, there's a few things about this bike which makes this thing sort of a cut above the rest when it comes to like the other beginner bikes in the market. Like just the fit and finish of this thing, it just feels really high quality. Like seriously, like everything on this bike, from the adjustable levers to the light up switches. I'll put in a video of me riding at night so you can see those light up switches a bit better. Just to give an idea of the light up switches. Yeah, just little things like that KTM did really make this bike stand out from the rest. You know, you've even got the rubber grips on your foot pegs here, and the extras on that, like where on the Yamaha alternatives and things you don't get that, even though you pay more, which is kind of funny, but you know, it's really good. Yeah, some things, yeah, this bike is just really cool looking. You know, I love the tail of this thing, how the rear light sort of integrates with it, and the colors, the orange trellis frame, everything about this bike is super cool. And it just screams, you know, look at me. And you do get a lot of attention when you're riding this thing. I get a lot of comments from people, you know, of all ages, adults, kids, you know, people just wondering what the hell is this thing, especially non-riders, which is quite surprising. I haven't had that before, but on this thing, yeah, you get a lot of comments. So yeah, another thing that I'm not too fond of on this bike is the LCD dash. Like, it does the job, but it's sort of lacking, especially when you consider the Duke 390 that comes out with the full TFT color display, which is really nice. But for some reason on the RC, I'm thinking because this bike is designed to be thrown around a track, they didn't really pay too much attention to not much about the LCD screen. They thought it was fine as it is, and it's functional. It does everything you need it to do. It tells you your fuel economy, your kilometers, everything with Ks, engine temperature, things like that, which is, it does its job. But they could have chucked in the TFT display for the 2020 model, I think. But I think for the 2022, they've redone the whole shape of it. They will be adding the TFT to the next RC390 that comes out, which is really cool. But yeah, so yeah, it's just a little bit lacking on the screen, but does the job. And seriously, when you're riding this bike, you really don't care about what the screen looks like, you just care about how it rides, and that is the main thing I love about this bike. So I will be doing an on-bike part of this video a bit later on, which will be really cool. And I'll also be doing an exhaust clip as well, because the Akrapovic exhaust just sounds really cool, and it'll be good to get to hear what that sounds like if you're considering getting one of these slip-ons for your RC390 if you have one. So yeah, I'll cut to a quick exhaust clip, and then we will get on the bike and explain more about how it rides and things like that. So sure. Okay, now for the more interesting part of the video. Just going to be talking about some of the ways this bike rides and things like that. So off the bat, this thing is like, it's actually reasonably smooth considering that it's like a single cylinder and things like that, but the gears and just the throttle, because it has a ride-by-wire throttle, it makes the throttle response really like nice, and it can just smoothly accelerate through like with no effort. As well as having a slipper clutch, it just makes those gear changes really easily. You can just go up and down, no issues. It's really quick, really responsive. It's definitely not the smoothest bike in the world, but that just comes with being a single cylinder. I mean, it's basically a glorified dirt bike engine in a road bike frame, but regardless of that, it's still a really awesome package, and a really punchy one too. You can really, you can really wind it out, and it accelerates very nicely. So yeah, just a couple more things about this bike. It has a 10-litre tank, and it gets about 289 kilometers to a tank, or about 180 miles, which is about 30 kilometers a litre, which is really good. It it really can go a long way on such a small tank. It's really cheap to run, and that makes it a really good option for a learner, as you have power, but you've also got economy there, and you can, it's not going to break the bank to take this out for a weekend. You can go for a long ride and it'll cost you like 20 bucks, and that'll get you to bloody Timbuktu and back, which is really great. So yeah, just like the things about the brakes, they're really effective. You really stop quickly. I got no one behind me, so I'll just demonstrate a bit of like that here, as you can really fucking slow down real quick, which is great. But yeah, I'm just coming up to some twisties here, and you'll see what I mean about how this thing just travels through a corner so well. It's really, this is what it's designed for, is nice tight corners and not so much straights, although it will do 170 kilometers an hour as a top speed, but the engine will be bloody screaming doing it. But seriously, when it comes to these tight little corners and stuff like that, it makes for a really good time. You can really get it down and just lean through the corner and then accelerate out. And a better sort of video of that is if you check out my KTM RC390 back road blasting video. There's some seriously tight corners, and this thing just loves to go through them. But yeah, so all round, I'd recommend this bike to somebody who's wanting to start motorcycling, but maybe they're really into the sport bikes and want to get used to that sort of really leaned in angle. This is the perfect bike for them. It's it's equivalent of much leaned in as like a 600cc super sport. So it's a really good starting point for somebody wanting to get into that sort of lifestyle, the fast boy, as they say. And it's such a fun bike to ride. You can really just throw it through the corners and have a great time doing so. It's just, it feels so safe and so planted, and it only being 149 kilos dry makes it some serious fun. You can just whip it through, just really quick downshifts, lean to the corner. It's an awesome time. So yeah, that's basically all I have to say about this bike. If you are wanting to get into riding and looking for a beginner bike that reflects everything that a big super bike or super sport would, and you just want to get used to that riding position and, you know, that really aggressive sort of riding style, then this is the bike to go for. If you maybe like the looks of this and you're interested in the engine and kind of how punchy that little single is, but you're not so interested in being leaned in the whole time, then maybe go for the Duke 390. It's a great option. It comes with a few more features than this bike does actually. It has adjustable WP forks and the TFT display that I was talking about earlier in the video, and it's a great option. It's a little bit more pricey, but if you're wanting to be a bit more comfortable, you know, on those long distance rides, I'd really recommend going for the Duke. But in saying that, for the price point, this bike knocks pretty much every other beginner super sport out of the water. The R3, the Ninja 400, those are great bikes, but for the price, this thing is nearly $1,500 less than both of those bikes, yet makes the same power, and in my opinion would go much faster around the track just because of how light it is. You can really flick it, you know, you can really move it around. So yeah, thank you for watching this video. Like and subscribe. This is Vinny from Road Blast Media.